And you have the
Hey, Owen.
virtual Omni lobby behind you.
Yes. I thought it was fun to dig up that photo of the Omni, since that is so often where we will sit at Gen Con.
Well, I mean, I stayed at the Omni most of the last, 10 times I went. I think Paizo's almost always, well, I don't know where Paizo stays now. Paizo has classically been at the Omni during the 6 Gen Cons. I went there as a Paizo employee. Although I only went to 4 and only 2 as a Paizo employee. But during that period of time, they were always there.
Any more caveats you'd like to roll out there?
No, I think I'm good with that list of caveats. So have you seen anything coming out of Gen Con that excites you so far?
You know what? I haven't really seen a lot of things that I didn't know about. I was very excited to see that Edget George won the Diana Jones Award.
That was the one thing I wanted to make sure we mentioned for the same reason. I'm very excited to see that happened.
Well,
and
we can mention it multiple times.
It's a new physical award too, which looks good.
Yes, but you know why? Did you?
Why it's a new award?
Yeah.
No, I don't know why it's a new award.
Well, first of all, let's say hello to Alan, who's shown up and said good evening. Hey, Alan, welcome to the virtual Omni lobby.
Welcome to the Convo on the couch.
So the Diana Jones Awards, maybe we do a recap of that, is an
absolutely.
award for gaming excellence that was organized by Matt Forbeck and a cabal of deep inside game experts.
Secret cabal.
Yes. Matt is the only known member of the cabal. And
well, I know a couple members. I presume you know a couple members, but
yes, but the public at large doesn't. And every year they give away an award for gaming excellence, broadly writ. They get together and talk about what's been hot in gaming over the last year, things that have happened, new things, people who have done excellent work or have done excellent work over years and have never really been recognized. And then they put out a short list and announce a winner. And it's called the Diana Jones Awards. Many people think it's because there's someone named Diana Jones involved. But in fact, that's not the case. The award itself was a plastic lucite pyramid that in it held some remnants from I don't remember whether they burned it themselves or the materials were being burned from the TSR warehouse.
So my understanding is the materials came from when the license expired and the TSR RPG materials were required to be burned, but someone decided to save some scraps.
Okay, yes, I knew the first part. Right, so it's from the old box set for the TSR version of the Indiana Jones game, and everything had to be burned. This was left over when the burning was done, and there's this piece of the cover of the box that just says Diana Jones, and so Matt had that put into this lucite pyramid, and that became the award for the Diana Jones Award. And each year, kind of like the Stanley Cup in hockey, the winner gets it for the year and then has to return it. And last year, the Diana Jones Award had to be shipped to Canada because the winner was Canadian. And somewhere crossing the border, it just disappeared and never arrived there and never came back. So the original Diana Jones Award is just gone.
So that immediately makes me want to turn it into a relic in a modern fantasy game, in an urban fantasy game, right? Where you have an adventure where at some point, one of the things you need is something that has had the focus of X amount people's psychic energy and excitement, and it evokes mythical imaginary heroes. Yeah. So you have to steal this award, and you get it from the mail as being shipped to Canada, and turn the player characters in an adventure into the people who steal the Diana Jones Award for the good of the universe.
That would be a great adventure and story. We've got a couple people who've joined us here in the virtual lobby. Ryan Costello and
Ryan.
Troy Everett Taylor. Ryan says he's on his way to bed. But when he passes Owen on a couch at a major gaming convention, he stops and says hi.
I appreciate that, Ryan. The fact of the matter is, a lot of people that talk to me briefly at Gen Con are on their way to bed. That is one of the reasons why Convo on the couch so frequently happens at the lobby of one of the hotels with a lot of people in the game industry in it.
Yeah.
It's almost always whatever hotel I have a room in, so that when I need to head to bed.
Well, I mean, they kind of started the way these things do, not intending it to be a thing. It was you
Yep.
and me hanging out, but because we know so many people and we're sitting in the lobby of a major hotel, as they would pass by.
Hi, Hal.
Hi, Hal. Hal Greenberg says hi. As they would stop by, we wind up growing a court. We would literally hold court as we sat there, and then it became. We liked it so much that we, instead of doing it haphazardly, started announcing we're going to be doing it this night at this lobby, and it became a lot of fun.
And the other reason I feel that happened is that we started telling people when, because people would say, "Oh, I had a great time seeing you. When can I catch you in the lobby?" And previously it had been whenever Stan and I happened to both want to sit at the same time in the same place. So scheduling it was an interesting next step.
Yeah. But I think it's pretty awesome that we can now make this a thing that we do. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, and we can even though we can't be at Indy, we can participate. And folks that are at Indy, some of the Ryan and Hal. I think Hal's probably there.
Hey, Tracy.
Hey, Tracy. Would they hear about it, and even though they're at Indy, they're tuning in at least a little to hang out, which makes me feel a little better about not being there. But
oh, this is from Indy at her first Gen Con, I think. So
I believe so. Well, welcome, Lissa. Always good to see you. And how's Indy going for you?
And Gary M. Sarley, dude. And the last time you and I were both at Gen Con, I could not get myself in the same place as Gary. I told him I was going to be someplace at one point. I was not there. And I tried to catch him at some place where he was supposed to be at a booth at one point and missed him. And for those of you who don't know, Gary was the editor, for example, on the Star Wars Saga edition, and was a crucial part of making that core rulebook, amongst other things, be mathematically accurate. More than once, we would throw some rules at him, and he would say, "Well, that's great, but it means that." Lissa says she's limping a lot, and she's walked like 10 miles. Yeah, like a lot of walking and limping sure does sound like Gen Con. It can be exhausting.
A good reason to have these things sitting down on a couch in the lobby.
100%. It really, really is. And it's Saturday night. There are some super secret gaming gatherings that frequently happen, and I suspect I wouldn't actually have gone to one this year, even if I was there. Because I have a number of risk factors for COVID, more than 3. I've got people in my household that have even more serious risks than I do. So even though we are vaccinated and double boosted, even wearing N95 masks, the idea of interstate travel and being in a building with 50,000 other people, even with masking and mandatory vaccinations, just isn't a risk I could justify. And I'm sad about that. Because first of all, I think Gen Con's doing the right thing, right? The first event I'd like to go to would be one where they require vaccinations and have mandatory masking. I would love to reward people for doing that. But also because I miss the convention, and I don't want to be in a room with 50,000 people, but I miss being in a room with that 50,000 people. Can you put up that comment from Melissa?
I think so.
Yeah. And Indy is frequently very hot during Gen Con. Now, my understanding is it's not that bad this time, but it is certainly better than my air-conditioned bunker. So I Yeah. Plus, some of the travel nightmares I've heard from people flying in.
Yeah.
Even ignoring that being in a plane makes me nervous again for infection purposes. I have been talked to multiple people that got bumped and delayed 5-6 times and showing up a day or two late. Also, Indy is very well known for having a odor issue downtown.
The underground ranch dressing mines are often in full swing during Gen Con. Apparently, not so much is being mined this year, which is a good thing.
And I understand that the Ram is gone, but has been replaced by something almost exactly like it with a different name.
That's what I heard. I know a couple of the restaurants closed. The Mikado, I think, was the name of the Japanese restaurant right next to the Ram, and they lost their lease despite doing great even through COVID.
Yeah, no, they were solid.
The building owner wanted to put something else there.
PS 238 principle. Woohoo!
Sounds like someone needs to make an RPG about trying to attend it during a zombie outbreak. I don't think so. I think we've got that. That's the live action game that's going on in Indianapolis right now.
So that for me is a perfect card game idea, right? And for those of you that have not read PS 238, it's one of the funniest comics out there. Yeah. And if you're not aware of it, you've got a treat waiting for you. So go buy all of it. Punch Burger and Punch Social were good eats. I have not been to either of those, but that's good to know. One of the things that happens at convention get-togethers is that pros sit around and talk, and we share our little secrets. And the problem is that if you share them too much, then after a few years they get out, and a large number of people know it. Like
and you can't go there anymore.
The Omni has a Severin restaurant, a little bitty Severin, which is also a bar separate from the big bar in the lobby, and for years, I was aware that it's close walking distance to convention. It always had immediate seating. It was always quiet. The food was good. They had fried chicken and waffle fries, which were literally cross-cut bits of potato in a waffle batter, then deep fried. It was delicious. And so I would tell people that. And then last time I was there was 2019, and it was packed all the time. St. Elmo's is there, and Lissa had her first shrimp cocktail. The shrimp cocktail at St. Elmo's, it's legendary.
I'm PS 238. Is that you, Aaron? Is that Aaron Williams, the creator?
Wow, I assumed so since it was PS 238 principal, but
and it's paired. But I just want to say, if we've got a famous person here,
well, and that is the other. Fascinating. Yeah. Okay. I assumed that was in fact Aaron.
I haven't seen him. I haven't seen you in forever, face to face. I mean, even beyond COVID.
Well, and you're not now, so.
Well, I know,
but he's seeing you face to face. But the other really fascinating thing that will happen is that if Stan and I sit in a lobby.
Yeah, you and me both, buddy. You and me both.
Hey, in case there's secretly someone at Amazon Prime sitting and watching this or catching up later, PS 238 is begging for an animated series on a streaming show. It would be a smash hit. It's perfect. Or if you're Hulu or Disney and you're looking at things like the animated superhero show that's Invincible.
Invincible?
If you're looking at Invincible and you say, how can we do that? But with a different take, so it doesn't seem like a ripoff. P238, genius, predates it. Some of the funniest stuff I've ever read, but also good superhero storytelling. So
Word.
But point I was trying to get, and this all leads to it, is that one of the interesting things that happens, yes, they did make Zoom Academy, Aaron points out. But
it's not as good. So
right.
Someone's still begging out there to do it right.
Damn you, Disney. Or actually, I suppose I should assume that I've got a ween chip in my head and say, dump truck you, Disney, because I can't curse. Anyway, just proving that I have done deep dives in the geekery of PS 238.
Anyway, you were trying to say
one of the fascinating things that happens is that if Stan and I are sitting together, someone might come by who knows and likes and wants to hang out with Stan, who I will get all starry-eyed and starstruck over because I don't know them for nothing. And I guess occasionally someone might
And
come
the other
by.
way, yes.
Okay, I was about to say I can't say that for sure, but
you can now.
So it's fun, right? Our powers combined are multiplied for hanging out purposes. For Hawaiian shirt, bearded white men,
lobby socialization. Yes. But I'm going back to the shrimp cocktails for a second here because my friends have been posting. It seems like everyone is posting pictures
Yes.
of their shrimp cocktails, and it's driving me crazy. One of the things that people who haven't had them yet won't know is that St. Elmo's is owned by the same people that own Izzy and Harry's, which is a restaurant just down the street, and they serve the exact same shrimp cocktail.
Yes.
And it's a little easier to get in sometimes. St. Elmo's is a great steakhouse. It's like often on the list of best steakhouse in the U.S. And it deserves it. Izzy and Harry's is a great restaurant too, but doesn't have the the name recognition, so it's often easier to get a seat. And so, if you really, really want one of those shrimp cocktails or any of the other specific recipes that they serve at St. Elmo's, just about all of them are available at Izzy and Harry's.
Alyssa also had the St. Elmo's whiskey and Diet Coke. Tracy says they've ordered their sauces for delivery a few times during the pandemic to lift our spirits. I didn't even know that was an option. So,
and that cocktail sauce will lift a lot of things, including your spirits.
It is horseradish forward from my point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if shrimp cocktail sauce that's horseradish forward sounds good to you, then this is the sauce for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've gotten to eat at St. Elmo's or Izzy and Harry's for that matter exactly once in all the time of going, and it's because I was literally walking by and a group was getting a table and we're like, Owen, come sit with us. And the waiter allowed them. So it was an accident. I've never tried to. Yes, a very happy accident. I've never tried to do it on my
own. Who was it? Was it Green Ronin that ordered lunches from St. Elmo's one year?
So they've ordered lunches from a few places, some of which are now banned from our good graces forever. Lissa says that the whiskey there is infused with vanilla, real, and cherry. Yeah, that sounds good. I'm pretty sure I would add it to a little regular Coke rather than Diet Coke, because even when I'm trying to watch what I eat and drink, I don't try and watch what I eat and drink at Gen Con. I used to try, and that would make it about, hey, from Riley and Carrie.
Hi, Riley and Carrie. How's it going out there on the East Coast?
I would never make it past halfway through Thursday if I was trying to. Never dilute or pollute your whiskey. That is a reasonable take. It's just not mine. There is no food stuff or drink stuff that is so perfect, in my opinion, that you're not allowed to play with combinations.
What were we saying? I've only been into St. Elmo's proper once, but I've been to Izzy and Harry's several times. St. Elmo's is the kind of place that you need to get in a reservation. You need to set it early. But one of the places that I worked set up with St. Elmo's that they made a bag lunch that you could order. But you had to order before Gen Con.
Days or weeks in advance. There would be a process for it.
Right. But if you did, then you could go and pick up your bag lunch from St. Elmo's each day during the show. And that was awesome.
I am going to send you. Did you get something from Lissa on Facebook?
No, but I'm looking. Carrie is giving us whiskey advice, which is great. But some people just aren't straight whiskey drinkers. And Carrie, Carrie's a good friend of mine, known him a long time. Sometimes he is sure Sure, that is just you're one whiskey away from being there. And
uh, Lissa sent me an image, Stan, and I have sent you so that we can look at the whiskey and Diet Coke. And then I will also send you an image of the shrimp cocktail.
A lovely whiskey and Diet Coke. Don't send me another shrimp cocktail.
But that way you can share it with other people, Stan. So yes, I'm sending it to you. It's going to look just like all the other ones you've seen.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. You have that power. I'm positive.
Well, okay. Yes. No. Theoretically, I can. I'm here to tell you that that's not a skill I've mastered.
All right. Hold on. Let's see what I can do here. Share screen. The window, and then that window.
Oh. Well,
and
yeah.
Then I'll pop over to here. There. Are you seeing that?
I'm seeing it, but no one else is.
Oh, well, darn it. Why?
What? No. Put it back. Put it back.
Okay. There it is.
Now everyone's seeing it.
Okay. So there's the whiskey with a little Diet Coke. And then here is the shrimp cocktail.
Oh, shrimp cocktail.
I'm carefully checking all my tabs to see if I'm leaking any secret evil genius information.
Really big shrimp, really big, delicious shrimp, and cocktail sauce will blow the top of your head off in the best way possible.
All right, so there we have successfully shared, Stan.
Oof. Check that off the list.
How says also enjoy and miss Fogo de Chao. Oh, Fogo's so good.
Yeah.
For a little while there, I would go to Fogo twice at every Gen Con because Paizo always had everyone over to Fogo de Chao, all the employees at the end of the convention. And then in 2019, I wasn't working for Paizo, but I was at the time working for Lone Wolf, and they had everyone over to Fogo at the same time Paizo did. Then on top of that, basically by accident, I'd gotten in the tradition of going to Fogo with Pazio and the Marlows, just for whatever reason. It would work out, and he's from Brazil, so he would tell me how to properly eat some of the food there, which really was different. Has there ever been a kaiju shrimp?
Yes,
there's been a kaiju.
Ebira.
Is Embryo not a kaiju lobster?
No, ebi is Japanese for shrimp.
Okay, all right, then he is clearly a kaiju
prawn.
Shrimp.
I mean, it's a prawn, but yeah.
Oh well, then no, but that clearly counts.
Yeah.
And here's my lovely wife LJ, who would frequently be walking through when she was at Gen Con. And hi. There, she yelled hi, so you all get to hear from LJ. Yes, Ebira. Dale Donovan, who's here as well. Hi, Dale. Also,
hey, Dale.
Pinged Ebira.
Glad you could make it. I love this sitting on the couch thing.
It's great. It really is. People I haven't gotten to chat with in any format, since last time we did this and didn't go to Gen Con.
Carrie,
I think
Owen Carrie.
Yeah. Hi, Carrie. I thought Carrie was saying hi to Dale.
Could be. We encourage socialization on the side.
Yeah, totally. Although we control all of it. So.
All right. So how about you, Owen? Let's go back to the question you asked me earlier. What have you seen that's come out of Gen Con so far that's fascinating?
So again, I wanted to make sure we mentioned Ajit George, and I'm happy to do that more than once, and the brand new Diana Jones Award, because he's done a lot of work on supporting marginalized game creators. PS238 says, yeah, go ahead.
Aaron's asking what others says. Aaron is on YouTube, and you can tell by the little red arrow at the bottom of his icon. We also are streaming. So we're streaming live to YouTube and Facebook and Twitch and Twitter. But we're, I believe, streaming to both my and Owen's Facebook.
Yes.
And both my and Owen's YouTube. So this is really getting around. So, yes. So we can see, I think that Twitch has some problems sending comments to this.
Okay, but we're seeing all the
others,
YouTube.
though, yeah, all the YouTube and all the Facebook for sure. And I don't know what happens with Twitter at all. I'm just testing out. I'm just testing Twitter for the first time. So I don't know how that goes.
Like one of the conspiracies in the old Inwo card game.
Right. Fenord.
Don't get mad at me. I'm trying to make you feel better.
Oh, did he need to get medicated? Did you do it already? All right. Lord Tubbington has the house's cat, Lord Tubbington, or rather the cat of which this is his house, is having to get anti-inflammation liquid shot down his throat. And he has the strongest neck and best twitch reflexes I have encountered in 46 years of living with cats. So the only way to get it is to do the scruff grab. In the back of his scruff, so you're paralyzed him. LJ, Hal Greenberg says hi.
Hi.
She said hi back. Did he need to get medicated? Typical Gen Con conversation, right? Yeah, no, pretty standard. And, I have a hot caffeinated beverage. That's also pretty standard for late by Saturday night. For me, anyway. So I also obviously was interested in the Evil Genius Games booth back in the 2100s or wherever it is, because I am now the editor-in-chief of Evil Genius Games.
I mean, that's worth mentioning, just kind of not as an aside. This week, you had accepted a position, and this week you started as the editor-in-chief for Evil Genius Games, which is a company that's putting out Everyday Heroes RPG. There was a big Kickstarter done for that a few months back, raised over $400,000. And right now, I've been working with them on the development of the core game. But when I'm done with that, I'm going to segue out. And I think they're super lucky that and super smart to have asked Owen and that he accepted.
Thank you. I mean, the idea is to people are saying nice and congrats, and I appreciate it all sincerely. I was a big fan of D20 Modern, which is one of their inspirations, and I enjoy a lot of the design choices behind 5e, which is sort of their other inspiration. So basically the concept, they're doing a game called Everyday Heroes. The concept is to do D20 Modern, but for 5e. And that idea super excites me. And I've been playing with, urban fantasy concepts for years and years and years and years. I have on my blog, OwenKCStevens.com. I've got the Really Wild West, which is a steampunk hack for Starfinder. And I'm going to be... Oh, and it's Jacob. Good evening from Gen Con. Hey, Jacob. Glad you're here. Glad Jacob. You could make it. And I've been doing working on Shadowfinder, which is going to be a play mode for Starfinder. That's an urban fantasy version of the game. So getting to be involved in someone else's take on that, where they are doing, those are little side projects of mine. So having a fully funded, big plan, hardback print rulebook company wanting me to help build that sandbox so that we can all play in it is really exciting for me. But this week, I'm trying to get up to speed on everything. So I got to drink from the fire hose this week. Oh, and it's Carlos Cabrera, who is recently announced he's also doing something for Evil Genius Games. He's writing one of our cinematic adventures. So, and apparently for Carrie, this is wicked choppy. Also, Carrie said that Riley wants to know if Lord Tubbington is named after Brittany's cat from Glee. He is not named for Brittany's cat from Glee. That name was an evolution of three of us sitting around and trying to get to know him. But one of those three people was a big fan of Glee and watched all of Glee, and I've seen enough Glee to know who Brittany is. So I would say that there was an influence of Brittany's cat from Glee. But Lord Tubbington's full name is Lord Tubbington of Sausage on Chonk, Order of the Big Biter, scion of House Pufflestein. So there's more than one inspiration going on his lordship's fluffy title.
But he's a big enough cat to carry it well.
And Jacob said that the folks at Evil Genius are here at Gen Con and cool to speak with. And Jacob said that they told him about yet another property they got. So since we were talking about what people got excited about at Gen Con, and I mentioned Evil Genius, Jacob, why don't you tell us about the additional property they talked to you about?
What did they tell you about, Jacob?
Because honest to God, we don't know. Yes, Carrie. Lord Tubbington is clearly a cousin of Brittany's cat. So Stan, talk for a moment while we wait for Jacob to type about the image in the background.
They said... No. Jacob says they said...
Godzilla! Oh, Godzilla. Yeah, we've already announced the Kong Skull Island property, and that's legendary. So Lissa's got to go. She says, I'm going to get going. We miss you and both wish... We miss you and both wish and are glad you are not here. Stay safe. Hugs to you both. I both wish and am glad that I'm not there, and I miss both of you terribly. Yeah. And it was really nice to get to chat with you briefly. Get off your feet. You've got Sunday still. Although I got to say, Gen Con has always been fascinating for me because Thursday, it feels like you're ramping up. Friday, it feels like you're changing gears and ramping up. Saturday, you hit full speed, and full speed sometimes goes to 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. And then Sunday, ghost town. There's no ramp down. You pop all the way out of gear. You're idling. The car is drifting to a stop. That's
how revved up you got Saturday night.
Oh, it is. But I mean, at other conventions I've been to, frequently it's, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday is a little above Friday, but it's not way down. Oh, Jacob says they also mentioned an alphabet show, either NCIS or CSI. I don't remember which because my mind is currently mush. I have nothing to offer on the idea that there's an alphabet show being licensed, but I gotta say, it would be fascinating to do a procedural role-playing game cinematic adventure with rules specifically designed, because we're going to have rules modules in each of the cinematic adventures. So the Kong Skull Island adventure will have an adventure, but it will also have, Kong. And, we're doing Highlander and the Crow. So we will have rules to make characters that fit those roles. A rules module for a procedural that you can use when that's what you're doing as a story and ignore the rest of the time would be a really cool rules module.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Hal says,
Hal says,
if this happens.
Yeah, I mean, if it is, I haven't gotten to that part of the schedule yet, which again, as I said, I got to drink from the fire.
I can tell you, it's not on the schedule, and we certainly haven't announced anything like that. I hadn't heard anything about it either. So Dave, the owner, has a lot of connections down in LA, and often we'll find out after he's had conversations with people that we are suddenly on the verge of getting something new,
which is cool. But it's fast. You got to stay on your feet with Evil Genius.
Ain't that the case?
That's the evil part of the genius. The ground under your feet can shift quickly, which is fine. I'm writing everything down. Hal noted at Gen Con on Sunday, by noon, crickets. And I've had some...
I mean, it's not really true. I mean, it's not true at all in the show. If you're just looking at what's happening, the place is filled with people trying to get last minute buys. But if you are not rubbing high on bargain hunting, you are sitting there waiting for 4 o'clock to come. Please, 4 o'clock come. Please, 4 o'clock come.
And some people do start to pack out early, and there's a lot. I mean, the restaurants are significantly less crowded. The lobbies are significantly less crowded. People are going home.
The city, people, when they leave, they do not go into a restaurant. They're leaving town. So as they leave the hall, the city is getting emptier.
I prefer to leave Gen Con on Monday so that Sunday I can sit in the lobby and say bye to people as they walk by. Which is basically how I ended up doing dinner with Claudio Pozas, or lunch with the Marlows and Claudio Pozas, because they'd walk by. Yeah, Aaron says, I always like looking in the program book and see what the very last events listed are. It's usually volunteer meetup and therapy forum or something. Yeah, you can, fewer and fewer spontaneous things happen Sunday. The density is much reduced. And then at 4:00, all the professionals, generally speaking, are helping pack stuff up and get out of there because the air conditioning's been turned off. So
Right.
you want to sit up and get out ASAP. Yeah.
Yeah. Lazy dinner and packing the booth and then a flight on Monday is the best plan. Trying to do it Sunday for all the reasons you were saying. Like, everyone's tired. They turn the air conditioning off immediately, but the hall is still filled. Sunday is... I know a lot of people want to pack it up and get out and get home, and I respect that. My take has always been, no. Once it's over, cut, do a little downtime, do whatever minimal, whatever you have to do, right? Because they're going to collect your stuff for shipping.
Yeah.
And take back all their tables and chairs and roll up all their carpets. But anything beyond that, if you can manage it, wait till Monday and get yourself some rest and do it at a more reasonable pace.
Also, in my experience, you're less likely to have problems with elevators to get your stuff down to the lobby. The taxis and Ubers aren't as rushed. There are fewer problems with flights. Yeah. And book trading at 4, so you don't have to pack product if possible. Right. Yeah, I was wondering about that. I used to do a lot of training on Sunday at cons, and some even Friday and Saturday. And then I don't want to say recent years because 2019 was the last time I was there, but for the past decade, it has been much, much less in my experience. And I was asking around about it, and several people said, oh, it still happens. It's just not at the volume it was.
Yeah.
And a couple of people mentioned that print costs just raised too much, so they weren't trading their books anymore. They want to sell them for cash. Because like when the 3.0 book came out at Gen Con,
right,
we all got a spare copy to trade with.
Mm-hmm.
Right, we got a copy of our own, and possibly another copy if you needed one for events and stuff, and then a trade copy that you were expressly given in order to offer it to other people at other booths to pick stuff up.
Right. Which I thought was a super smart thing for Wizards to do.
I agree. And I picked up a bunch of supplements for Rollmaster and MERP. Not the core rulebook, and a 10-foot pole and a lot of their Lord of the Rings stuff that have great maps and lore collections and just this big old pile of things because the people there really, really, really wanted a 3.0 D&D core rulebook and did not have time to go stand in line.
Right.
So yeah, that was great.
Anything else? Any products from companies you're not related to that you've seen talked about at Gen Con?
Well, what do you mean by related to? Paizo made some fun announcements, and I don't work there anymore.
You're related to everything now, so.
Okay. Paizo is going to be doing a Starfinder. First of all, they're taking their first season of organized play, the Shattered Stars plot line, and turning it into a all-in-one book adventure path, which I think is a super smart move. It's one of the best seasons of organized play, I think. Jerry Tangman, how are you doing? I'm good. I'm doing great. Aaron asked, are those guys who bought all the leftover Dragon Dice still running a booth to sell them at? They were in 2019, I think.
I think they're still around. Whether or not they're at Gen Con, I mean, I don't know. Someone who's there, have you seen the Dragon Dice people?
But I mean, my understanding is that they bought those things for pennies on the dollar, and there remains enough Dragon Dice fans. I was even told at one point that they started doing small print runs of supplemental material.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they'd done. I think there had been at least one set that was designed and never printed by TSR or Wizards, and that I believe that they did do a small print run of that and have since done at least one set of their own.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm pretty sure I saw that.
So Jacob says the Dragon Dice are still there. Dale Donovan said he saw their banner on a video today. And Jeremy, watch your stories daily. They never get old. They help me cope. I'm glad they help you cope, Jeremy. Sincerely, it's one of the reasons. One of the reasons I try to be upfront and honest about what's going on in my life is to help people cope. Yeah, no, I think it's the Dragon Dice story is a fascinating one, and it's not. I doubt it will ever get like the analysis and book it deserves, because I think most people in the industry think of Dragon Dice as a failure. And it's fair to say Dragon Dice was a failure for TSR. But there are a lot of games that were created
It was
at the time.
It was a self-inflicted failure for TSR.
Yes, totally.
It was a failure for TSR in exactly the same way that the Pokemon Junior game was a failure for Wizards.
For Wizards of the Coast. Well, Stan, here we are on the couch. Apparently it's story time. Tell us, oh great sensei.
So
Senpai noticed us, so tell us about the story.
The short version for Pokemon, since this is the Dragon Dice story, Pokemon Junior, which was a game we built, a RPG for 6-year-olds and their parents, that came out in the same year that Pokemon the card game came out and was super hot. It got caught between okay, no, that's the long version. The short version is that they printed 1.5 million copies of it. So when they only sold 800,000 units, which is, I believe, still the highest sales number in first year of production for any RPG ever, including any edition of
D&D.
Just got a text from someone who is watching us on Twitter.
There you go.
So I may have to poke over there in a sec to try and figure this out. But so despite the fact they sold 800,000 units of them, it was considered an absolute failure because they failed to sell 700,000 units of it. And it was just left over. And got discounted and sent to Walmart.
Where it sold out, by the way.
Yeah, and that sold out within the next, like, there's just none left at this point. So the Dragon Dice story is that they were printing in China, and things had gotten a little bit late in the production schedule, and they weren't going to make Gen Con. They wanted to make Gen Con for the full-blown release, and it wasn't going to make Gen Con. And so Lorraine Williams, the owner of TSR, said, well, let's airship them over for Gen Con so we can sell them. And the manager said, okay, how many do you want to ship over? And she said, all of them. And they said, that's crazy. We're not going to sell all of them at Gen. That's going to cost a mint to do that. And she said, nope, do it. So they airshipped the entire run over, and it sold. I don't know if you remember that Gen Con. It sold like gangbusters. They had a big gumball machine that you could put in to get Dragon Dice out. They sold everything they brought. They had to go back to the warehouse to bring more the next day, and that sold out. And they wound up selling through the entire print run, not at Gen Con, but very quickly. And so Lorraine went back to. However, because they airshipped it, they lost money on that. But there was people wanted it. They couldn't. It was selling super well. So Lorraine went back to the printers in China to get more, and they cut her a deal. And she said, "Why don't you? Can't you cut us a better price on this? We come back to you with all this." And, well, you don't order enough. If you'd order more, we could give you a better deal. And so she said, all right, print 1 million of them. Said 1 million of total dice. No, 1 million sets. Print 1 million of them. And they literally did print 1 million of the basic sets because it had gone through and sold. I think the first round was something like 20 or 30,000, might even 100,000.
The number I keep hearing is 50,000.
Yeah, it was a very big thing, and it sold through. And she thought, this is going to be a big thing forever. So print 1 million of them, and they did. And lo and behold, when they had 1 million, they tried to push tons of them out. There was only so much interest in it. It was still popular, but not popular enough to. They had a warehouse filled with 1 million basic sets, and so they couldn't. The sales on follow-up sets were not as robust as the first one.
Who'd have thought?
And they kept doing them faster to try and keep everything hot, which only squelched the market even more. There was one point where they took everyone in creative services for one day and pulled them off whatever they were working on to come up with ideas for other games they could make using the basic Dragon Dice. Other things they could do that would use the basic sets of Dragon Dice so they could sell more of them. And so it became a huge, they for having sold out 50,000 units in a ridiculously quick period of time, that line did nothing but lose money every step along the way. And in the end, there was most of 1 million basic sets left that this company that we're talking about, whose name I don't know either, the ones that are producing Dragon Dice now still bought that and the rights for a ridiculously low amount of money, because just the cost to warehouse that was more than TSR or later Wizards really wanted to have anything to do with.
Let's see, it looks like Dragon Dice is owned by SFR Incorporated. And that's all I know about them. And they also have a game called Demon Dice.
That's nice.
So there you go. We also had Brandon Hodges come by and say, one of my favorite parts of Gen Con, fellas. Thank you for bringing it home this year, which I really appreciate it. Hal mentions running up from 50K to 1 million is very optimistic. And like I said, 50,000 is a number I keep hearing. I did not work for anyone important at the time.
One of the things we've learned we learned once we got to Wizards, and we've learned even more in the years to come, is that the TSR management never gave accurate numbers. They very rarely gave any numbers to the people, even the managers of creative services, even the people deciding what products to make. Never got or rarely got any numbers, and never got actual numbers. As people like Peterson, who did that big book a couple of years ago about the history of D&D.
And there's a new one.
Yes. There have been a couple of new ones. He's done a second book, and there's an even newer one by Ben. I'm blanking on people's names. It's late, and I'm in the lobby of a hotel. I don't need to remember these things. But Peterson went through and got he wasn't working on people's memories. He built that based off memos and legal filings and other things that could be proven. And he had very hard numbers for everything he put in that book. And it was I still hang out with a lot of folks from the TSR days, and we sit around whenever something like that comes through, and we're like, "Did you know that? Did you know that?" None of us knew that. No one told us that.
No, and it's often crazy stuff. So because it is a great book, and I want to do the shout out, the new one is Slaying the Dragon, The Secret History of Dungeons and Dragons by Ben Riggs.
So Ben was also very good, is much more based on testimony, on personal testimony. I talked to a lot of people. Although I know he does have source to some primary materials. It's not as extensive as Peterson's.
But he has gotten primary sales numbers that apparently are not anecdotal, that no one has had access to before.
Probably because someone just discovered them.
Yeah.
Those things keep getting unearthed. Like, we think we know everything that's going on, and someone finds some paperwork from 1978, and it's like, well, no one knew that before.
Yeah, well, I mean, I remember being told that the little tiny spell books, the spell book compilations, that TSR decided to make them an unusual size so they'd be smaller and cheaper and fit in new places. And it turns out that size was more expensive because it was a non-standard size.
I hadn't heard that story, but
Nope.
Strikes me as totally true.
When I went to work at Wizards of the Coast, a bunch of WotC people or TSR people that had transferred over were, because I got a set of those. They had them there at Wizards of the Coast. And I was like, ooh, a complete set. And they're like, yeah, lost money on every copy sold.
Yeah.
Did a reprint. Yeah. Lost money on every copy sold to the reprint.
Same thing happened with the second Dark Sun box set that had the cloth map.
Yeah.
Turns out that cloth map was much more expensive than they told. We thought it was a certain price. I wasn't there at the time. It came out either the month or the month after I first got the TSR. But everyone, they thought they'd price it out. They thought they'd been told the real prices. Turns out they were not told the real prices. And so each one of those box sets lost money because of that cloth map. And it wasn't necessarily, and they wouldn't have put it in there if they'd known the price.
Yep. But
it got hung around their necks as just another dog you guys produce. It does nothing but lose money for us.
So, the thing about hanging out on the couch is we can only do it until we get tired.
Are you getting tired?
It's been an hour. I'm getting tired. It's late for me. It's 11 p.m. here, and I've had a full day. So, Stan, I think I'm going to roll out. I'm going to leave you the couch. The couch is yours, sir.
Well, okay. So wait, before you go,
all right.
I've got one more. So I got a tweet on the Jeff Quick is the person who's watching on Twitter.
Oh, hi, Jeff.
He says hi. He says that Demon Dice is another Lester Smith design game for those who don't know.
Great.
And that Rob Donahue has challenged people on Twitter to give more awards if they don't like what's going on in the Annies. So what would be categories in next year's Owen Awards?
So if I were to do awards, they would be the Gaming Excellence Medals or the Gem Awards, and you would have Ruby and Diamond and Sapphire. I've thought about this before. So Gaming Excellence Medals, and each one would have a little medal with a fake gem in it. And I would not myself try and come up with all the categories myself, but I would definitely do one like Best Tabletop Acquisition Product for a product to bring people into gaming. I would definitely do one that was most visual impact on the tabletop. So it's a, I don't care if it's a big model or do you get a copy of Pokemon Ruby Sapphire? No, you do not. These are my awards, Aaron. And I would definitely do something for best gaming related tie-in, because I think we are getting to the point where there's a lot of things that are growing out of gaming that are not themselves games that I want to acknowledge, but I also want to point out to people, no Dungeons and Dragons, no Tal'Dorei. There are a lot of these no Shadowrun tabletop role-playing game, no Shadowrun video game.
Right. Okay. My addition to that is, so I think the thing that the awards have suffered in general, have suffered from either being a small cabal of people that no one knows who they are, or worse, they know who they are and they are not representative enough for everyone to feel comfortable that their voices are being heard, or it's a big open on the internet popularity contest. Do you have any thoughts on how we can get a gaming award which actually is based on excellence, that is actually a fair, realistic measure of what were the most excellent games of the year?
Well, one of the things we'd have to do is generate money and pay the people, because that means that they have to play those games, and that takes time, right? I've been on the Origins Awards jury before, and I got a box of board games that I could ship a recliner in, and spent a couple hundred hours trying to play every game at least once. If you've got a full-time job, and worse, if you're a tabletop or game writing freelancer, you just can't spare that time without someone paying you for it. And that's it. It can't be the publishers. It's got to be the company. I personally think what we need is to have different categories of experts who are people who are in the industry, although adjacent industries would count, and then say each one of them cannot vote for games that their name is in or that a company has given them money for that year published. And therefore, you got to focus on other games. And that is how I would try and do it.
Okay.
So, if some billionaire's out there and he wants to give me a stupid amount of money to start the Gaming Excellence Medals, I am ready for the Gem Awards. They will be truly outrageous. All right, it's late, Stan. I would love to stay up and do this longer, but I just can't. I'm nodding.
I know I could probably tease some more out of you, but I'm your friend and I won't.
Yeah, you already kept me for 5 minutes. So I'm we're in the lobby of the hotel. I'm heading to the elevator. I'm going to bed.
All right. Well,
thank you everyone for coming out.
Everyone who showed up. I'm not going to sit here and talk to myself. I do that enough already. So before you go, Owen, where should people reach out to you on the internets?
So you can find me on Facebook. That is facebook.com/OwenK.C.Stevens. You can find me on Twitter. That is twitter.com Owen_Stevens. You can find me on my website, OwenKCStevens.com. I have a Patreon, which is patreon.com/OwenKCStevens. And I have a Ko-fi, which, by the way, has a ton of pictures of Lord Tubbington, our beloved household cat. And that is at ko-fi.com/OwenKCStevens. What about you, Stan? Where can people find you, since you're going to log out as well?
Oh, I'm a lot of places. I'm at Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and YouTube and all of those are username Stanx, SEANN. I am on Twitch at The Real Stanx. I also have I said Patreon. And I have a website, which is stanx.com, but right now is in the midst of, or at the start of a rebuild. So I'm not pointing people there a lot, but it is there and will continue to be there in some form. Hopefully a better one. That's not, the old one is terrific, but I realize that my needs are different than what that does. Yeah. Wrap it up. I don't want to throw my developers under the bus because they were great. I gave them bad information, and as such, the site has to be redone again. Anyway, thank you everyone for coming by. Owen and I also have a sumo-based show, which is airing on most of these channels. It is usually Tuesday mornings, where we talk about the great sport of sumo. Come by. We'll make you a fan.
Yeah. I was not a fan of sumo till I met Stan. He's my sommelier.
All right. So thank you all, everyone, very much.
It was delightful.
Enjoy Gen Con if you're there.
Yeah. Have a good time.
Bye.
See you in a year.